If you are starting to learn Japanese, or if you're thinking about learning Japanese, one thing that is probably daunting you at the moment is kanji. And when I started learning Japanese, yeah, I was super scared of kanji and I would avoid them. And when I started reading manga, I would read shoujo manga because they would have the furigana, the little pronunciation guide that's in hiragana or sometimes katakana, like right next to the kanji. So I could still read the kanji, and I was just like, kanji are stupid, I'm never going to learn them all, they're so complicated. But now I love kanji so much after learning the language and after reading and translating a bunch. I thought I would show some examples of how kanji can be very useful in translating and in understanding the Japanese language. So these are 3 actual examples that have come up in translations that I've done. And each one of these words, I totally did not know this word before I started translating it, but when I saw it written down in the kanji, I could understand it because I knew all of the individual kanji and what they meant. So the first word is kigyoka. Never heard of that word before, and if somebody had told it to me in conversation, I would totally have not known what that word meant. But I looked at the word, and it's 3 kanji. The first kanji means like to wake up, to get up, to make something happen. And then gyo it's kind of like a suffix or a part of a word that attaches to an industry. Like nogyo means agriculture. No is like of farming, and then gyo is like the business of. And then ka is a suffix that is affixed to, again, a word of like a person who does this thing. Like mangaka means a person who writes manga. So think about those 3 words, like the 3 parts, the 3 kanji. So ki, to make things happen, to wake up. Gyo, like the industry of. And then ka, person who does. So person who does the industry of making things come to life and happen. If you guessed entrepreneur, you are correct. And so I translated the word, and I didn't even know how it was pronounced until like 30 seconds ago when I looked it up just to make sure that I was pronouncing it correctly. But yeah, just reading it in the kanji, I knew exactly what it meant without needing to look it up or without even having learned the word before. Okay, the second word, I definitely had to look up the pronunciation before recording this video. It is ippu tasai sei. So this one also is another word. I totally didn't know this word, and I didn't even know how it was pronounced until like, 30 seconds ago when I looked it up before recording this video. But if you look at all the kanji one by one, I think you can probably guess what it means. So let's look at the kanji one by one. The first one is I or ichi, that means 1. Pu or fu, as it is usually pronounced. You might recognize it as one of the kanji in fufu, which is literally husband-wife, which means married couple. It means husband. So 1 husband. The next kanji, ta, you might recognize it by itself if you add an I to the end of it, is oi, which means many. So we have 1 husband, many so far. The next kanji, sai, is the kanji for tsuma, or wife. I think you can kind of already tell what this means just by those 4 kanji. So it means 1 husband, many wives. And then the sei at the end of it is just kind of like the system of, it's one of those suffixes that kind of doesn't mean anything on its own, but it means something when you apply it to a bunch of other kanji. So the system of 1 husband, many wives. So what do you think that word is in English? If you guessed polygamy, you are correct. All right, one more kanji compound for you guys to guess the meaning of based off of the meanings of the individual kanji. This one is onetsubyo. Onetsubyo. And again, I didn't know how to pronounce this until I looked it up before this video, but I knew what all the individual kanji meant, and then I therefore knew what the word meant. So o by itself, it means yellow or golden. Netsu means fever, and then byo means sickness. So yellow, golden, fever, sickness. What do you think it means? If you guessed yellow fever, you are correct. So that's one really cool way in which kanji can be extremely useful, like once you learn them. And it's kind of, you have to learn them, you can't help but learn them, let me put it that way, if you read a bunch of manga. That's the way I learned. I just read a bunch of manga. I read them with the furigana, and I also read some without, because if you read them without, then you start like, the words that you don't know, you just kind of fill in over time with context. I wouldn't stop and look them up in a kanji dictionary. If it was a very important word, I would sometimes go to like my host mom or my host grandma and be like, hey, what does this mean? And then they would explain to me in Japanese what it meant. Over time, you learn to recognize the kanji on your own without any help. Another really cool reason to learn kanji, actually, is that you can sort of read Chinese. A lot of the kanji that the Japanese brought over, they mutated them a little bit, they made them a little simplified, a little less complicated, but they're still pretty recognizable. Like, I easily recognize the kanji for bank. It's the same in Chinese and it's the same in Japanese. There's so many more similar kanji that you can just kind of, you can glean just a little bit of what the meaning of that word is in Chinese if you know the kanji for Japanese. In summary, it's a lot like Latin for English speakers, like how a lot of our words, there's a lot of Latin and Greek roots, and it can actually be helpful, especially if you're interested in getting into science, to learn like Latin and sometimes Greek, so that you know the root meanings of those words, and then you therefore can more easily understand the words themselves and their applications in the language. Anyway, that was all for this video. If you enjoyed it, you can give it a thumbs up or a comment or something, and if you didn't enjoy it, you can give it a thumbs down and a hate comment if you want. You can also support me on Patreon. I have one of those now, and I'm shamelessly plugging it. Even just $1 a month would really help me a lot. I could get some lights that are better than these fluorescent kitchen lights. I could get a tripod that isn't broken, and I could get a microphone so my voice doesn't sound like it's coming down a mine shaft. Anyway, have a nice day, everyone, and I'll see you next time.